Hello, welcome to if statements. This is now level 2 criteria. For Pearson's, you will need to know how to use an if statement and a VLOOKUP, you see down here. And for City and Guilds, you will need to know how to use an if statement, an if or statement, an if and statement, but you won't need to know how to do a VLOOKUP. However, they're all beneficial, nice stretch and challenge. So basically, what is an if statement? If I open this up here, basically an if statement is asking a question. So we can see from this question here, something similar that would be in your exam. If the cost is equal to or greater than 30, we are in profit, otherwise we have made a loss. So if we look up in the taskbar, we know that we were talking about functions and formulas before. So this is a function. It has it's preceded by a word, if, and it tells the computer that they're going to do a special calculation. So all formulas and functions start with an equal. So we've started with the equals if, then we've opened the brackets, and we're asking a question. So it's broke down into 3 parts, an if statement. We can see here on the right hand side, the first part is logical test, which is the question. The second part is the value of true, so it's going to return a value if it's true, the question. And the third part is going to return it a false outcome if the question is not correct. So each bit is broken into commas, so try and remember this as well. If I just click inside there and use my arrow keys, I can see that I am in the logical bit. You can see it's bold underneath. If I go past the comma, I'm now into the second part, which is value of true. And if I go past this next comma, I'm into the value of false. It's broken into 3 parts. There's a question, true, false. It never changes order. So as I was saying before, try not to look at the data that's in here. Try and think of them as cells. So let's just have a look at this one here. I can see I'm looking at this cell here. So I'm saying if J4, that cell, is equal to 23, then I want the word true to appear in this cell. However, if J4 is not equal to 23, I want the word false to appear. We can see it says 23, so hopefully when I click in, it should say true. If I change the data, let's change it to 20, it will change to false, because even the question is question, true, false. So because it's not true, it defaults to the next part, which is the false part. So let's have a go. Now you can write these out. And I want you to do that at first, just to get used to it so you understand the structure and what it's all about. And then there's a fast-tracked little box which we can use, and then you decide which one you want to use for the if statement. So to write this if statement out, we're going to start in C4, and we're going to answer this question here. So I'm going to set up the if statement. You'll know you're correct if you get this bar underneath telling you laying out the if statement. So you can see the bold is logical, true and false. If you don't have that, then you haven't set the if statement up correctly. So just be careful of this. So the question here is saying if the cost is equal to or greater than 30. So this is the cost. So B4 is equal to or greater than 30. That's the question. So I'm going to move to the next part, comma. This part is true. So what do I want to appear in this cell? If it's true, I want the word profit to appear. Now, if you enter anything that's text, you have to surround it with speech marks. We can see down here later on some of the true or false answers here are going to be numerical data, so it's going to be costs. So there'll be no speech marks in there. However, if it's text, it has to be surrounded by speech marks, even in the question. So we're going to come on to them later. So I've put the true outcome. I'm now going to put a comma and put the false outcome, which is loss. I'm going to close the correct number of brackets that were open. So one was open, closed one. I can see in the taskbar, I'm happy with everything I see there. Press enter. This box has come up because I've put something the wrong way around, but the computer's going to help me out here and it's going to answer for it. It's going to change it. So it's nice. So in the exam this happens, it will help you. But before you do it, just please have a look and see what is different between your statement and theirs. Now I can see I've put equals to and greater than because that's how it reads in the sentence. However, the format is greater than or equals to. So I'm forever putting them the wrong way around. But the nice thing about it is the computer will help you. So yes, please change it, and I can see it's all done. Yes, you can then drag this down and you can confirm if everything's correct, if it is less, equal to or greater than 30. If it's not, it'll be a loss. If it is, it's profit. Just be aware that in the question, if they do say equals to or greater than, that you do include the equals to as well, or else if you only put greater than 30, it will ignore that one there. So let me just delete them for a minute. And what I want to do is show you another way of doing an if statement, and it's the fast track way, and then you choose which you prefer. So remember how we find functions? We can either find them in the insert functions or up here. So I'm going to try this one for once, the other ones I was doing over there. So I can see there's an if statement. If I can't see the if statement here and you can't find it, you can always type it in here and it will appear. So I'm going to press the OK. And I've got 3 horizontal rows. Now with this one, it's set up the if statement for me. I can see it in the taskbar, I can see it in my cell. Now in this one, all you need to remember is to put the question in. You don't need to worry about commas and some of the speech marks, so it's a little bit easier. So in here, we just need to put the question in, which is if that cell is greater than or equals to, because we know that it's the other way around, 30, and then the value of true will be profit. So I don't need to put speech marks in here, because when I click down, it will put the speech marks in for me and the commas, so it's a lot easier. I would like you to get used to it, typing it out once or twice so you understand the format and the process and how it's structured before just using this on its own. So if I press OK, there we go, we can have that one. So you can either type it out or you can use from the function, the insert function, you can use the fast track. I'm going to let you continue with all these on your own. So coming down to the next one, it's still an if statement. Now with this, there's the question. Now the true and false bit are numerical, so they're not in text. So it could be, if it's true or false, it could be just numerical data. Now the one below has a mixture of both. It has, for the true answer, it has numerical data, and for the false, it has text. So there's 3 different ways of doing an if statement. Just be aware of that. Just makes it look a lot longer, a bit hieroglyphics, but it's still the same process as this one here. So let's have a go. I'm going to set up the if statement. Again, I've got everything underneath, so I know I'm on the right track. So the question here now is hotels in London receive 35% discount, others receive only 10%. So it's a bit more long-winded this. So it's saying if that cell equals, now remember anything in text, I have to put speech marks in. So we're saying if this cell equals London, if it does, what is the value of true? So what it is we want to find 35% of the cost and take it off. So here we have BODMAS again, which is similar to your percentage tab down here if you want to go back and reflect on that. So we're going to enter this in now. So there's £100 minus, or should I say C11 minus C11 times 35%, and don't forget, put the percent in if you're going to use percent. You can use decimals if you want, times 0.35, but if you're going to put the percent in, make sure you put the percent sign in, or else you'll be multiplying 101 35 times, which, wow, I don't think Donald Trump could afford that. So that's the true outcome. Now for the false outcome. So this time the false is we're only taking 10% off because it won't be in London. So it's that cell again, minus that cell again, and this time times by 10%. So close the corresponding number of brackets and check up here with our formula. Everything looks cool. We can see £65.60, so it's taken 35% off this. To prove it, I can change London to Corby, and because it doesn't see London in there, it'll give me a negative outcome, which is now just take 10% off the bill. So it does work. Let's just go back. And same again, you can use the fast track little box for this as well, as we did here. But I'm just going to show you on this one down here. another one where I'm sure you've seen it sees an absolute reference in here. So we know we're going to use an absolute reference because there's data on its own, as we were talking before with the absolutes. So just to do the first one for us, I'm going to use the box on here. If, okay, I'm just going to bring the box down. So my question is, if C20 equals yes, so if this cell equals yes, now remember, it's text, so it has to be in speech marks. On the first one, speech marks for the true and false, it will put them in automatically, but on the first one for the question, you have to put them in. So the value of true, if it says yes, it is then B20 plus, so it's the hire of the car, plus the cost, the fuel cost, and B31. Now we have to absolute reference this. Now remember, on a laptop, it's function key and F4, which puts dollar signs in, which starts to freeze the column and the row, and where they meet, it will freeze that cell. You could also just type them in yourself if you want, so you could click in front of the B and type in the dollar sign, and click up in front of the row number 31 and type a dollar sign. It's your choice, or use the fast track key F4. Therefore, if it's not rented, then the false outcome will just be not rented because it's text. I'm going to put it in speech marks, and I'm going to use the same text format that they use. So there's no capital letters there. I'm going to use exactly what they use, so there can be no errors. So that's everything done. It looks okay on here, and I'm going to press OK. So I can see that the pound sign's not in here. So as we were saying before, with cell referencing, with cell formatting, make sure that it's formatted correctly. I can see it's formatted to general up here, and if I click in this one, I can see that's formatted to currency. So I would highlight all my cells. I would come to the drop down. I would go to currency, as we've done before. Make sure it's 2 decimal places. It says pounds, and everything's fine. Now you can carry on either with the box or handwriting it out. So I'm going to leave that to you to have a go. Now, just to reiterate, if you don't have this when you set up the if statement, something's wrong. So please make sure you have that. And the if statement is built up of 3 things. It's a question, and then it's true or false, always in that order. So the next videos I'm going to go on to are if and if or statements, and these are specifically for City and Guilds. But if you're doing a Pearson's exam, there are nice functions to have a look at. So see you soon.